let's speed run the 70 here. Just plow through everything with our bolts. Just mow everything down. Look at our twisters and bolts flying everywhere. Nothing's really a contest. We just need to make sure the shouts are up and we avoid stuff. That's about it. But man, this build is fun. Hit stuff from a distance. You can see how this build just plows through everything, with the holy bolts shooting everywhere and the dust devils shooting everywhere. Basically shots on cooldown. I like to use Wrath of the Berserker basically on uptime, but you can save those for elites if you want. But you basically just mow through everything, watch your health. The Iron Skin and the Challenging Shout are the most important. We're just keeping it up every time, but really no worries here. Just plow through everything like it's... Scourge will land, no problem. Boom, and he dead. What's up guys, Xygor here, and do I have a fun build guide for you today. It's Season 4 of Diablo 4, and the game's been completely revamped with itemization. I've been having a blast with the Barbarian again, this time with the Whirlwind Dust Devil Barbarian, which is a speed demon clearing build. In fact, I haven't seen a better clearing build in the whole history of Diablo 4 than this one. So I've been speed clearing 70s, but this can do much more than that. In this build guide, I'm going to teach you what skills to take, what gear to use, gems, expertise, show you the skill tree, the Paragon Boards, the tempering, and the Masterwork, because those two latest systems are the things that have really changed the game. This is a build where not only do your Dust Devils do 5 to 6 million damage each hit, but also your holy bolts will do up to 1 million a hit, and it just completely mows down everything in its way. I've been having a lot of fun with it, like I said, so let's just get right into the build guide. So as far as skills go, we're gonna have Iron Skin. It provides a lot of survivability beyond the actual ability itself, because we're kind of synergizing it with an aspect. I'll touch on that in a second. We're using all 3 shouts: Rallying Cry, War Cry, and Challenging Shout. And we are using a cooldown here, Wrath of the Berserker, for extra damage, and that is going to help us a lot, kind of maximize the damage here. And Whirlwind, that's our bread and butter. Actually, much of our damage does not come from Whirlwind. In fact, a very minuscule amount comes from the Whirlwind itself. It's the Dust Devils and the Holy Bolts that are going to do a lot of damage, and we'll speak to that in a second. For gear, Harlequin Crest is the optimal helm. Now, this is tough to get from Duriel. You can do Tormented Duriels, and there's like a 10% chance that any Uber Unique will drop now, but he's very tough. But I was lucky enough to get this, especially the bonus cooldown roll is the best cooldown roll you can get on it out of all of its rolls. So this one's really great, but if you don't have the Harlequin Crest, that's fine. You can go with Numbing Wrath here for awesome survivability. Check the build guide below for a link with kind of recommended stats to go with and tempering. On this one, it's just a Uber Unique, so you don't really temper stats the way that the other gear works, but you can see that I'm really prioritizing Challenging Shout cooldown and Crowd Control duration, which lessens the cooldown on your Challenging Shout and extends its ability to be used a lot. Tyrael's Might, this is another Uber Unique. This is what's going to allow you to hurl all that barrage of holy bolts across the screen. Like I said, they can do up to 1 million damage each. They just fling out as long as you're at full life. We do some things to keep ourselves with full life here. You're looking for damage reduction if you can get the bonus roll on it from Masterworking. But if you don't have Tyrael's Might, Rage of Harrogath is really good. That helps your cooldowns immensely, and it's way easier to get That is an awesome chest as well, but this is like the very top end setup here. In the build guide I have in the description below, it has both the optimal, which I'm using, and kind of the starter one, the one with no uber uniques. For gloves here, we have Intercom. Intercom, we're not standing stationary in this build, but it still gives us a good damage bonus. Critical strike chance, I had the luck of having 2 bonus rolls there, plus a greater affix. This one's really good. We're going with damage while berserking and crowd control duration. Crowd control duration helps extend your challenging shot. That's why we're taking that one. With the pants, we have Iron Warrior. Now this is awesome because when Iron Skin is up, we get an additional 35% damage reduction, and that's insane. It's really hard to come by damage reduction now compared to what it used to be. So this provides us awesome defense. You're really looking for maximum life armor and total armor as a temper roll there, because unless we have both armor and total armor, we're not going to be able to get up to 9320 armor, which is the cap for armor. Now you want to have above 9320 at all times. With that combination you can get it. So you can see I also have maximum life and fire resist on this. Any resist is good as long as you're really balancing your resist, but fire is one of the most important. So you can see crowd control duration again. With the boots, we have Relentless Berserkers. It just keeps up our berserking up so that we're doing a maximum amount of damage where possible. I have maximum life, fury per second, and bonus rolls on movement speed with a greater affix here. If I find one with movement speed, maximum life, and strength, I'd probably use that again instead. Fury per second is not as useful as it used to be. Mobility cooldown reduction, and we don't want barrier generation there. We want, we actually want crowd control duration there as well. Barrier generation, kind of scuffed stat here, but I'll have to just find another one. For weapons, you want a mace for sure, with, if you can, strength, fury on kill, critical strike damage. I have fierce winds here. You could put fierce winds on your other two-hander and devilish on this one if you want. But on this one, damage to close enemies and chance for dust devils to cast twice gives you a lot more damage, and close damage is fantastic. I got some bonus rolls on critical strike damage here, which is great. For the weapons, we want to have 1 mace and 1 Ramaladni's Magnum Opus. This just gives you a lot more damage. And with the mace, you want Dust Devils on it, damage while berserking, and another chance for Dust Devils to cast twice here. Some bonus rolls there, as you can see. With the sword, you want strength, fury on kill, and probably critical strike damage is a little bit better than vulnerable. I had vulnerable on this, and it just was a decent weapon, so I used it. I could probably stand to upgrade here. Damage to close enemies, and 1 Dust Devil size roll. So one of your two-handers, you should have Dust Devil size roll. This makes the Dust Devils much bigger than normal, but it caps out at 100. So because we have 100 here, we don't really need it on any other piece. But when it's 100, it's awesome. With the amulet, we have Edge Masters, just keeps your damage cranking. I got movement speed, critical strike chance, and cooldown reduction. That's pretty cool, good too. If you want to not have movement speed, you can do resource cost reduction or maximum fury there, maximum resource. Either way is fine. I love movement speed. It just makes the build faster, which is awesome. That's what this build is for. With the tempering, we have damage while berserking and resource generation. So ring 1 and ring 2. Ring 1, we have Bold Chieftain Circle. Really keeps your shouts up a lot more. This is one where we want to have brawling cooldown reduction and damage while berserking. Actually, we don't. We want damage while berserking and Warcry cooldown. This is a little bit scuffed. So Warcry cooldown and damage while berserking there is better. As you can see from the build guide below, I have all the priorities there. Ring of Starless Skies. This is an uber unique too, and of course that makes it hard to find. I got lucky with 2 Masterworking ranks into core damage, which is probably the best ability to boost here. This keeps your damage pumping high and your resource costs really low. It's a fantastic ring, but you don't have to have it. Again, if you don't have uber uniques yet, you can use smiting here. You could even use elements here. There's a few others that you could take here that are really good too. But this is basically the best you can get. Alright, let's talk about gems. In the weapons for the gems, we have emeralds. Emeralds just give you more critical strike damage. You could use vulnerable here, but critical strike is more helpful because it has the same modifier, I believe, and it's up slightly more than vulnerable because it takes a hit for enemies to be vulnerable, and this is a little bit better. With the reds, this is just life, maximum life. We want to put that in all of our armor pieces, so 2 in the legs, 2 in the chest, 1 in the helm. You want to just balance out the other gems to make sure that your resistances line up pretty good. My shadow resistance is off, as you can see here, but in my mind that's probably the least important resistance, and all 4 are maxed out. Tyrael's might increases the maximum up a little bit too. With your expertise, you always want to take two-handed axe here. Two-handed axe is the best. They did nerf the increased critical strike chance against vulnerable enemies here by 5%, but it's still the best. So this is the one you want to use no matter what. With our Whirlwind, this is really important. We're using the one-handers with our Whirlwind. We're attacking with the one-handers. That's not the case in a lot of other builds, so just take note of it because you need to do that to crank out damage. We're taking some synergistic skills, and the Ramalanis to hit has to be that way. Alright, skill tree. Let's get into the skill tree here. I'm going to show you what skills I took, starting with the top. Basic skills, we're just taking Lunging Strike. You can take any basic 2 points here just to get to the next level. We're not even using Lunging Strike. We're just opening up this next core level. There, we just want to take 1 rank of Whirlwind. And it says 5 because I have the Harlequin Crest, but just 1 here, up to Furious Whirlwind. Take a pressure point there. That helps you a little bit. Otherwise, you could take 2 Whirlwind just to come down here and unlock the defensive skills. Here you want 3 Imposing Presence, more life, 3 Martial Vigor, Vigor, however the bleep you say that, just more damage reduction, and Rallying Cry up to Tactical Rallying Cry. We want Iron Skin over to Tactical Iron Skin. We want 1 point in Outburst and 1 point in Tough as Nails. This is what gets our enemies bleeding. So this is very helpful. It synergizes with all sorts of other stuff we do. And then 1 point in Challenging Shout down to Tactical Challenging Shout. Alright, we have War Cry over to Power War Cry in the brawling skills here. 1 point in each. 3 points in Booming Voice, keeps your shouts going. 3 points in Aggressive Resistance, more damage reduction, and 3 points in Prolific Fury, more fury generation is always a great thing. Down here, we have 3 points in Pit Fighter and 3 points in Slaying Strike. A lot of builds don't use Slaying Strike, but it just makes this one more powerful, easier to clear and mow through enemies. It's really awesome. 1 point in Thick Skin, just to really unlock counter-offensive, 3 points there. It's a fantastic skill. We're always over 45, 50% unless we're taking a lot of damage, so this is really important. And then down here to the ultimate skill tree, we're taking 3 points in Wallop. And that's why one of our weapons is a mace. One of our one-handers is a weapon that's a mace here. That's what's going to be helpful. You're just doing increased damage because we're making all the enemies vulnerable. 3 points in Tempered Fury just to increase our maximum fury here. And then Wrath of the Berserker down to Supreme Wrath of the Berserker. And then for our key passives, we're taking Unconstrained. Unconstrained just gives us a ton more damage. It's the best option by far. This Gushing Wounds I still think is bugged, and Walking Arsenal sucks, and this one got nerfed. This one's just the best, so this is what you got to use. Alright, let's hop over to the Paragon Boards here. I'll give you a rough summary. Again, for the Paragon Boards and skills, they are in the link in the description below. Check that out. I have both an Ubers version and a non-Ubers version that should help everyone that wants to do this build. So, with the Paragon trees. So first one, we have Exploit here. Exploit is just going to make everything vulnerable and allow us to do more damage. Exploit's important. It's not as important as it used to be, of course, but it's still very important. And then we're coming up to the Warbringer tree here. And in this one, we're taking Hungering Fury and Core Reserve as rare notes, but we're taking Wrath as our socketed glyph here. Wrath just going to give us more critical strike damage, which is always a great thing. We also have Condition rare note here. Going over to the east, we have Twister here. This build is unique in that it's one of the only builds that would use Twister, but this is really great. You're going to get a lot more Twister damage from your Dust Devils. We're cranking them out all the time. We even have, you know, those tempered abilities to spawn twice in many cases. So it's fantastic. We have Enraged, Brash, Fierce, Berserker rare nodes, lots of rare nodes here with Carnage. Carnage is just going to give us a lot more damage. Let's see here. We got up to the north, we have Ire. And Ire is just going to give us a lot more damage while berserking. One of the most important stats in this build is damage while berserking. You're going to do a ton of damage. Here we have Demolish and Arrogance. And then we have Decimator. Decimator is a good 10% increase that we'll basically always have because everything's vulnerable. Alright, going back down here, we're going to go east from the Carnage board over to Blood Rage. Blood Rage here, we're going to get the Revel and Grit rare nodes. And then we have Martial here. Martial is going to keep our shouts going more. It basically reduces the cooldowns of our non-used shouts. So when we use a shout, the other ones have reduced cooldown. It's really important. Cooldown is super important. It's easier to get now, which is awesome. But this is super helpful because we want to be able to have Iron Skin and Challenging Shout especially up at all times. The other two shouts, obviously, you want them up a lot. But those are the two most important. This helps with that a lot. Alright, back to the Twister board. We're going to go south 1. And this one, we are going to go to Flawless Technique to get Ambidextrous. And Ambidextrous, this is probably our least important glyph. But it does double what bonuses you're getting from the magic ones here. We're taking Heavy Blows and Brash. Ambidextrous is going to allow us, or it's 125, not 100%, but it's also giving us more damage while wielding one-handed weapons. One-handed weapons are the key to this build. That is what we are using on our Whirlwind, which is what we really have to use. Alright, I talked a little bit about tempering already. You're basically just trying to maximize the highest damage tempering you can get. Damage while close is fantastic. Damage while berserking is fantastic. The Dust Devils ones are really important, but remember, only take one Dust Devil size roll on one of your weapons. Masterworking, if you don't get, especially on kind of the level 1 Masterwork stat that you want to increase, you can just basically put it here and do reset Masterwork ranks to get what you want. It is costly over time, but that's what's really important. So let's just get into some of the gameplay here. I'm just going to show you a little bit outside of what I already showed in the intro, just about how this build runs, and then I'm just going to give you a few kind of summaries about this build. Here's a Belfry Zakara 100, just showing you how incredible this build is at speed clearing. We're just literally mowing through everything at full speed. With Dust Devils and Holy Bolts flying everywhere. And you are basically just the king of Helltide too. Look at this. It's crazy. Nothing can stop you. Yeah. So you basically destroy everything wherever you want to speed farm. This is the build that does it. And here is a Boss 100. There we go. That's how powerful this build is. Alright guys, that is the Season 4 Whirlwind Dust Devil Barbarian. As you can see, speedrunning is its specialty. It can just plow through everything, destroy everything, basically complete things in record times. But it does have a downside as well. You're not going to kill the boss as easily as some of the other specs in the game. You can speedrun pit 70s like I've been doing, maybe even get a pit 90 to 100 down, but it does get outmatched in deeper pits by other builds. But for me, this is the most fun build of the season to play so far. I also want to know, have you found any fun ways to optimize this or do something better than what I've done? Let me know in a comment below, and I will check you guys out in the next one. bye.